random terrible thoughts you've had in your head.
Yeah, but just keep them in your head, and she doesn't need to know. It'll be fine. You won't even notice him on the day. You won't get to spend time with the people you really want to see. You won't even see this guy.
Or unless he steals the soul of the party.
He might be. You might run off with him.
It happens.
Yeah, it does in films.
Yeah.
Not so much in life. One hopes. One hopes not.
I've never seen the bride run off with, I guess, at the party itself, but I have heard of relationships. Anyway, your solution remains pretty much the same, irrespective of the question.
It's not that important, Elizabeth. I know it's your money, but really, in the amount of money you're spending on this day, relatively small amount.
And my solution remains always the same.
Don't get married. People always ask one what one does for fun. Well, one enjoys watching Got One and a fish called Wonder. One is also partial to One Direction and The Wanted, and the short-lived Billy Corgan band's One.
The Answer Me This Jubilee, 1 hour of Her Majesty's pleasure, available now on iTunes.
Time for a question from Pat from Canada, who says, my husband and I were talking about where we would like to retire in about 10 years. Fortunately, money won't be a problem, she predicts confidently. It could be another global meltdown by then, Pat.
Maybe she's doing the Breaking Bad work scheme, but doing it right.
Money won't be a problem, but temperature will be. You see, she says, my husband doesn't like the cold.
Nor do retirees traditionally. You know, as your circulation slows down a bit, you feel the cold more.
Yeah, but here's the rub, Helen. I don't like the heat.
Me neither, Pat. Let's retire together.
Oh dear, potato.
No one in the world says potato. Listeners, please write in if you've ever heard anyone say potato. No, you haven't. No one's going to write in.
We both like the fall and spring temperatures, continues Pat, but he is miserable during the winter.
I'd imagine a Canadian winter as well is quite brisk.
Yeah, indeed. And I am now dreading the oncoming summer.
Me too, Pat.
Helen, answer me this. Is there somewhere in the world where the temperature is always somewhere between 50 degrees Fahrenheit and 75 degrees Fahrenheit?
I think the fridge in our local Tesco's, judging by the ice lollies.
Where you might need a light jacket, but you don't have to have the air conditioner on or the furnace on most of the time.
I think the Bay Area.
Yeah.
I haven't checked the exact temperature graph, but the Bay Area is fairly temperate all year round. And then if Pat wants to set up a startup or something, she's in the right place already.
Oh, everything about her email suggests she is ready to embark upon internet entrepreneurialism.
I think Tasmania is fairly even, and New Zealand. New Zealand has a lot of microclimate, so there's bound to be one to suit both of you.
Yes, and a lot of people I've heard that have visited New Zealand from Britain say that it's kind of like an idealised version of what the UK scenery should be like.
Cricket tees, all of that.
Yeah, but it's kind of it's very green and lush because it rains, but it's not freezing cold because of the ozone layer being missing.
Yeah.
So it's actually quite bright and pleasant.
Yeah, they get a lot of sunshine in there, it's got a lot of rain.
The very same thing that's what I call. Like yes, in winter, yes, it gets below. It just about get below freezing.
You've got to have
quite
a fire on. She said she doesn't want a fire in the winter.
There's not really
You die if you live in Cornwall in the winter.
There's just really other places that never ever get cold and never ever get hot.
Saying that. Well, actually, okay, I've got a suggestion.
Right.
The Azores, archipelago off the coast of Portugal in the mid-Atlantic. It has a pretty consistent mild climate all year round.
Really?
Yes. I've been.
Yes, I know.
And I went,
you went at Christmas.
I went at Christmas, and I wouldn't exactly call it a sunshine break at Christmas. It's basically like a slightly dull British summer's day most of the year. The thing about the Azores is they are built on a volcanic set of islands as well, so there's a risk that the whole thing could go boom at any point. And they've had quite a few plane crashes there. Statistically, more likely to have a plane crash there than other places. Well, my theory is because it's pretty much the only landmass between Portugal and America. If your plane starts going down, then you crash land into the Azores, so that probably skews the stats, doesn't it?
Hello, Helen and Ollie. It's Mia. I'm 14 years old. Helen and Ollie and Martin Salman, please answer me this. When I go to the supermarket and I'm frequently looking for the product that is quinoa or quinoa, what pronunciation is it? Is it quinoa or quinoa? I got very confused and asked the shop assistant for quinoa, and they said, wait, hang on, do you mean quinoa?
That's where we are in time. 14-year-olds buying quinoa.
Absolutely.
Not cigarettes, ancient grains with high protein content.
Quinoa, isn't it?
It's quinoa. And the weird thing is, it used to be spelled Kinwa in the ancient Andean language when it came, and then Spanish conquerors changed it to quinoa with the infernal spelling.
Right.
Cheeky spellings. They also forced the Incas to stop growing quinoa and start growing wheat because they knew that they used quinoa in religious ceremonies and they wanted to ruin it.
But putting your David Crystal hat on for a second, I know you have a hat made of all of these books. Isn't it the case that as so many people are saying quinoa, in time it might be called that anyway, so maybe there's not a right or wrong here anyway?
I think it would just be better to change it back to quinoa.
Okay.
Yeah, with a K and OR at the
I think
end.
that is probably better.
I'm in favour of phonetic spellings.
Yes. Well, maybe both will have them actually. We'll say quinoa and we'll say quinoa and we'll spell the K. And we'll end up in a yogurt nightmare again.
Oh no!
Do that all over again.
Oh.
Now, technically, because quinoa is a grain, you can, and I've never tried it, but you can theoretically make bread from it.
Yeah, I've used quinoa flour in biscuits and cakes.
How do they taste?
Quite a lot like quinoa, but with chocolate chips in.
I think quinoa bread is going to be the next big thing. Think about it. Like twats like me that haven't eaten bread for 18 months, cutting out bread for my health. I don't know why I'm doing that. I just know that it was making me fat. I don't know if it's gluten. I don't know what that means.
It's because that which bread is made of just breaks down into sugar almost immediately.
Is that different with quinoa?
Yeah, because quinoa has higher protein content.
So why isn't Pret selling quinoa sandwiches? 'Cause I'd buy one. I'd pay £6.50 for a stupid quinoa prawn cocktail sandwich. They've come. They're going to deliver it.
Quinoa for all the kids. I think it's probably the case that quinoa flour doesn't rise like bread flour does. That's the problem with a lot of these alternative grains, Ollie. They just don't make nice bread. You can make a nice quinoa chapati or tortilla wrap or something.
So basically, I've got the right idea from a branding point of view, but the grain has yet to adapt to my modern way of thinking.
Quinoa wraps, though, then you could be onto a winner.
Quinoa wraps.
Quinoa nachos. You could easily do that.
I'm almost tempted to cut this out of the podcast and just go and start as an entrepreneur. Start this up right now.
Nachos, that sounds great.
I totally. We're both of us twats enough that we pay more for a quinoa nacho to try them.
Well, because the grain does cost a lot.
You only have to try it once, and then suddenly you've got the next courgette chips.
Here's another question of supermarkets from Tom in Reading, who says, I was at Tesco Express earlier and saw a man take a single banana off a bunch and pay for it.
It's the new olive bar.
I've never done this before and wouldn't, because I would find it socially awkward separating a banana from its mates to think, oh, what if they want to get back to the banana party? But accept it is completely fine as you pay by weight. It got me thinking though. Ollie asked me this: could you peel the banana and pay for it that way?
You could take a shit in the middle of the supermarket, couldn't you? But you wouldn't, because that would be obviously wrong.
Well,
What's
it's
he
not
saying?
obvious,
He's saying
Tom.
way less to take the skin off the banana.
It would save money, says Tom.
But you're paying for This goes for all the packaging, doesn't it?
You could like debone a lamb shank and just chuck some meat in
Yeah.
a bucket, couldn't you?
Surely the shop couldn't do anything about it. Obviously you'd put it in a bag to stop it having to touch the disgusting scales, or worse, the cashier's hands. But then the banana comes in its own bag, made of its own skin.
Yeah, actually, did you see that? There was this sort of meme, wasn't there, on social media a couple of months ago, if someone had spotted Morrison's were individually packing bananas in cellophane.
God's sake. They do that with coconuts as well. The near impenetrable coconut gets shrink
So
wrapped.
bizarre. Got
Very.
God's packaging on it.
Yeah. Well, Ollie answered me this: can you peel bananas before paying for them to save on weight?
You can, but you shouldn't. You obviously
Weirdo.
shouldn't, and you're weird.
If you wouldn't even separate a banana from a bunch, if you wanted to do a banana from one bunch, then you're never going to have the guts to do this.
Well, I'm with Tom that I wouldn't have done that. I know what he's saying, you pay by weight, but you...
I've done that.
Have you?
And you do that with ginger as well. You snap off the amount of ginger.
No, never.
Of course.
Never. Literally never.
No, you meant to.
The price of the banana is factors on the fact that some of it is dead weight, some of it's the skin. In the same
Yes,
way that
exactly.
when you get T-bone steak, you factor in the fact that there's a bone. in it.
Precisely, yes. And in fact, if they'd peeled the banana, if you wanted to peel the banana, then you'd pay more for it to be packaged in a protective atmosphere where the banana hadn't gone off.
That's going to be the next thing, isn't it? Peeled bananas, like buying apple segments rather than the whole
Why
apple.
did people buy a packet of apple segments? It's babified.
I put my picture on Tinder, but nobody swiped right. I went on Match and OkCupid, no suitors would bite. My body clock is ticking and I need to find my Mr. Right. Or at least a willing donor.
With a personal website built through squarespace.com, you can edit text and pictures till you look like the bomb. And if you don't find a man, at least be comforted by the peeping Tom.
It's a cold comfort, I just want to be loved.
thank you, Squarespace, for your support of this episode of Answer Me This.
And for you supporting websites that actually look good and work and are easy to build for even people like Muggins here.
Yeah, or Muggins here. My website, ollyman.co.uk, built with my fair hands using Squarespace.
Oh, you do have fair hands.
And isn't it beautiful?
It's a bit bright, I think.
It's fine. I mean, I'm not saying it's a great example of what you can do, but it's something that took me virtually no time at all. So well done, chaps, for designing something so lovely.
And you can make a store, and you can make a gallery or a portfolio, or then you have a play with their free trial, and then if you like it, and you sign up, you get 10% off for a year if you use the code ANSWER. And you're also demonstrating to Squarespace that you like this show, so they carry on giving us money to make the show, without which we could not make the show.
Everyone is a winner.
Yes.
Carly in Oxford says, a couple of days ago I was with a group of friends and we decided to play a friendly game of Monopoly.
No such thing!
However, we never actually managed to play, as we couldn't get round the board once, due to a major dispute over the rules.
Sounds fun.
I've always played with the rule that you cannot purchase anything on your first go round the board.
Oh, it's like the peloton, where the cyclists have to stay behind the guide bike until near the end.
Yeah, the Grand Prix they do that as well, don't they, first lap?
Yeah.
But my friend claims this is not true. She says, I've searched and searched, but I cannot find a confirmation of either rule. So Helen, answer me this, can you buy properties on the first go round the board?
Yes. There's nothing in any of the official rules that I have read that says you can't. What you can't do is build houses and hotels on the first round.
Yeah, but
you can't buy a street and then build on it in the same go.
But that's in any round, isn't it? That's not just the first round of the board. You can't buy Pall Mall and then start building hotels instantly.
Yeah, but that means by default in the first go round no one is buying any houses.
But it doesn't make the first round special. So
no.
Yeah.
What I did not know is that if you choose not to buy the property that you've landed on, the banker can then auction it off. I don't know whoever played by those rules.
Is that a standard rule?
Yeah.
And no one likes that. It's not how life works, though, is it?
It takes an element of chance.
Yeah.
Then it is just pure capitalism.
And also strategy, because you might think, well, I don't want to buy this now because I'm speculating, but also I don't want someone else to have it, so I've got to buy it. You don't want to have to buy it just so no one else buys it.
No, indeed, and the point of you having that strategic talk with yourself because you don't know whether you're going to land on it again in the future is the fun bit of the game. If you think, well, next time someone else lands on it and they don't want it, I'll buy it from them.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Yeah.
But I guess the game would be over much quicker if you played by the official rules.
The game is never over quickly, though.
No, but maybe because no one plays by the official rules. And the thing that I like, but again it extends the game, is the thing, if you've ever played this, where you put all the fines that you give to the banker in the middle of the board, and then when someone lands on free parking.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we used to play that one.
That's good fun. Yeah. Because if someone goes from being pretty much bankrupt and about to leave the game to winning everything. Great game.
It's just not a meritocratic game.
This is Katie from Christchurch in New Zealand. I was just talking with my boyfriend about new board games we could try, and I remember that I once saw an M&M version of Monopoly, and it made me wonder how many versions of Monopoly are there. Every time we go to stores we always count them, and the most we've ever seen is I think 17. But Helen and Ollie and Martin are down there, and answer me that. How many types of Monopoly are there in the world?
It's an odd little quirk, isn't it? Every time you see a brand extension for Monopoly, that you then count how many are in the store.
They have to, otherwise the house will burn down. A bit of OCD.
It is a little bit, isn't it? That's the thing. It's kind of a funny thing to do once when you're bored in Toys R Us, to then make it into a trend feels a bit odd.
Also, Katie, are you keeping a log? Because you might be counting one novelty Monopoly set several times.
Well, actually,
you might see it every time you go to the store rather than there being new ones.
You don't need to keep a log because a man, I assume it's a man, it must be a man, called Yehuda online, has been keeping a list since 2006 of every Monopoly spin-off game. Would you care to guess how many he has catalogued? I'll give you the provisos first. He hasn't included translations. So, for example, some of the spin-offs, like, I don't know, Pixar Cars, like, he hasn't counted all 50 translations of Pixar Cars Monopoly. That counts as one.
Yes, quite right.
So but he has included the unofficial ones, because not all of them are made by Parker Brothers and Waddingtons and whatever. Hasbro. Some of them are obviously a bit dubious, but they've all ended in the word opoly. So he hasn't included the ones that are called, like, Oxford Street in a box, which is basically the same but isn't Monopoly. So he's included the ones that end opoly
and have the same board format.
Have the same board format but aren't necessarily official tie-ins. How many? He's been counting since 2006, recently updated last month.
242.
242. Says Helen, do you have any rise on that?
I was going to go right now. I was going to say 256.
You are both way off. When I tell you way off, I'm seriously not.
700.
Okay, and the final rise from Martin on 700?
1013.
2,769.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there a version shitter than the Monopoly spin-off we've got, which is the Wolverhampton version?
Hey, there's Baghdad. I mean, that would be fascinating, I suppose. say like Redbird's house and shit like that. Not really interested. It's types of forest, I guess. But there's a Metallica one. Oh, you quite like that one.
And what are they like songs then?
I imagine.
And the jail is Napster.
And there's a BBC Radio 1 version where presumably a lot of their presenters go straight to jail.
Well, it depends on the era. If it's 70s Radio 1.
I imagine it is. I don't think Radio 1 would do anything anytime now. It doesn't feel right, does it?
If it came out now, I feel too old to play it.
If you got a question, answer this podcast. Real .com. You haven't got a scoop, answer this podcast. Real.com. You really have the phone. 1, 2, 3. Double 7. You're up with the times. This podcast that's to Google. Real.com. So ask your question.
Here's a question from Carly, who says, my flatmate travels for work, and I have looked after her 2 cats for 5 of the past 9 months. Before her most recent trip, she said she didn't have a will.
Of course, that would be the natural conversation you have just before you leave to go on a work trip. By the way, if I die, just want you to know, haven't got a will, enjoy the flat.
But if she died, she wanted the cats to go back to the breeder and not to her family. I was a bit surprised that she didn't ask if I wanted the cats, as I'm the only other person they have a bond with.
Yes.
That's what cats want you to think.
Exactly, that is almost entirely in your head. They have a bond in that they've recognised that you feed them when your flatmate isn't there.
Some of the manipulatrix is I'm not a cat person, says Carly, but I really feel that if my flatmate dies, I am the best person to take the cats.
Right.
They're very attached to me and I'm quite fond of them. So, Molly, answer me this. Am I wrong to intend to take the cats should she die?
Yes, you are wrong to do that if the will states otherwise. You'd be breaking the law.
Yes, but she doesn't have a will. But then you think if she's so determined for her family not to get the cats, if she dies without a will, her family will automatically get the cats. So if she... No, exactly. So you need, Carly, to make a deal with the family that if she dies, you'll get the cats. But then it will sound like you are going to bump her off
Yes.
in order to get the cats. And therefore if she